let's get into at least my receiver rankings with a bunch of these clips I got. RIP to my main film YouTube channel, QPro88. You will be missed. YouTube took down your stuff, which is really unfortunate, but hopefully the appeal comes through. We're rooting for you. So with that, I had to kind of scramble for clips here because a bunch of the clips that I had saved up were from those videos. So my number one guy, number one and number two, I think for everyone, at least for me, I think for a whole lot of people is really close. Devonta Smith, Jamar Chase. And I think it almost does depend on scheme fit, which one you'd rather have, what you're going to ask your offense to do, what your plan of attack is, what you're asking them to do as a receiver. But for me, I think that Devonta Smith fits more, maybe not more systems, but maybe his niche that he fits, he's going to do it better than Jamar Chase, whereas Jamar Chase may be more versatile. But, man, I liked Devonta Smith a ton last year. He's done nothing but improve that this year by going out and having a Heisman-winning season. I did not really expect that necessarily. But first thing when you watch Devonta Smith, separation. He is just tough to cover. They call him the Slim Reaper for a reason. You can see he just gets guys going the wrong way a ton. You know, and the way that he attacks D-backs and how he attacks their leverage off the line of scrimmage is just really, it's like coach's tape. Let's see if we can get, all right, it is loading here. Like, he's just so freaking good. What is this clip? I don't even have it written down. Oh, here, yeah. And not only that, like, he creates separation underneath, but he is a crazy vertical threat as well. If you watch any game against LSU, he completely torched Stingley, whatever his name is, one of the top young corners in all of college football. He absolutely torches him. And this catch is absolutely freaking ridiculous.
Yeah, that's crazy how he's able to get up on that. Jesus.
I think I have the picture. I'm going to try and share this picture real quick. Yeah, change windows. Let me pull it up real quick. Let's see if I can get it up. Maybe I think I can put it over the screen here. But look how high he gets here. Is this going to load? Yeah, here we go. So this was on the broadcast. 10 feet, 8 inches in the air, he caught that football. Dude, that is insane. He could have dunked that football.
Yeah. I mean, he can get up. He's for being the Slim Reaper, he's still just a crazy athlete, just being how small he is, or a small build.
Yeah, I think that people are taking the whole BMI thing a little bit too seriously with him because, yeah, he's not like thick. He doesn't have a big BMI. You know, he's got minimal amount of C's in his thickness. But the dude is still a tremendous athlete. Like, do not discount how much of an athlete he is. And it's almost like, I feel like he's almost, you know, you see a lot of basketball players that now transition to tight end. I feel like Devonta Smith is now like, he's like the basketball player at receiver, where he's like really slim, but he's got great ups, and he's got good feet. He's just really good with his body and body control in the air, reaching up for the ball, high pointing the ball. And I think that that's a lot more important than being, you know, a bully out there in the modern game. So yeah, just the way that he attacks D-backs is really awesome, and I just love watching him, and I've liked him for a long time now. So we're going to see, there's going to be like a little curl, and just, he sells this go perfectly, and this is why he is so freaking tough to cover one-on-one. Like, dude, you think easily he's going for a go here, because if you put on the tape of him running a go route, it looks exactly the same. Right? There is no tell. So he does this little shoulder dip. This is like the standard college receiver 101 release. Just attack the D-back, cut outside, dip your inside shoulder. And like, dude, he is selling this perfectly. And then bang, stops on a dime, throws even a little bit late, and then he makes guys miss when he catches the ball.
That is
Like,
crazy
to
that
me-
he's able to stop all that momentum and just come back to the route like that.
Oh yeah, he's insane. Yeah, and like in general, people are scared that because he's a really small receiver, he's going to struggle against press coverage. Well, I think that if you look at the LSU and the Georgia tape, that's not really true. That he actually does relatively well when you get tight up on him. The only tape he really struggled against that tight coverage was the tape that we were saying earlier against J.C. Horn, and even then he still scored 2 touchdowns. So
Yeah.
do you consider that struggling? Like last time I checked, anyone that scores 2 touchdowns had a pretty good day. But yeah, you're going to see here he's at the top of the screen, and it's just tough to get hands on him. You know, it is tough to try and get your hands on him, and even when you do, he's still he's so long that you can he's like an octopus. You put the ball over here, he's going to catch it. You put the ball up top, he's going to catch it down low. Like, not only that, he's quick, he's got great feet. You know, he is really good, what's it called? Like, tracking the ball location, whatever the hell you want to call it. And on top of the body control, I just feel like he's the total package. The only thing he's not is one of these, like, bully type of receivers.
Yeah.
That, you know, like you see A.J. Brown, right? Where you're just basically moving the corner 10 yards and then doing a quick basic or a dig, catching the ball, and then breaking a couple tackles. You know, obviously he's not that. And if you're running one of those systems, like you can see here, right? He gets thrown to the ground. Like, yeah, he's obviously not the most physical guy, but I think that's Tyson Campbell.
That's Tyson Campbell.
Or it might be Stokes. Might be Stokes. One of the two. But, like, dude, these Georgia D-backs were NFL quality D-backs, and they really had no answer for Devonta Smith. What is this last clip I had loaded up here? I don't even think I meant to put this on here, but you know what? I'll play it anyway. Look at this. Devonta Smith. He's just a beast.
Yep, just go up and get it.
And it's funny because I actually thought this was one of my weaknesses around him. I don't love him around the sideline some of the times. I think that his feet kind of get away from him and he loses track of the sideline, but it is nitpicking a little bit that. So, yeah, let's get into number 2, and that's Ja'Marr Chase. Like I said earlier, I think it does depend on the scheme that you want. I think that Ja'Marr Chase and Devonta Smith equally have the same amount of concerns. I think I am a little bit more concerned about Ja'Marr Chase than I am Devonta Smith, which will come off as kind of a surprise. But I'll get into that now. Yeah, obviously, I wouldn't be surprised if Ja'Marr Chase went before Devonta Smith. I think it's easier to be sold on Ja'Marr Chase. You know, the athletics, how well he did. You know, seeing him go up against corners that had success in the NFL. Like on this clip, he's up against Trayvon Diggs, and he just kind of mosses Trayvon Diggs. You know, Ja'Marr Chase, the first thing you notice about him is that he's not a 50-50 ball winner, because he turns the 50-50 balls into 80-20 balls, right? So, like I kind of said earlier, I think that Ja'Marr Chase, you can put him in an A.J. Brown-esque role where you're on a physical football team, but then he can do even more. Especially, like, I think he has a better route tree. I think he just has better footwork. Maybe he's not as good with the ball in his hands as A.J. Brown is, but he has better hands than A.J. Brown. Like, I feel like you're almost getting an A.J. Brown that's a better receiver in Ja'Marr Chase. So, Ja'Marr Chase, probably a safer prospect than Devonta Smith is to a certain extent. Yeah, he's just such a beast, right? I really don't think you can go wrong with either one of these guys. These guys are both so good.
Yeah, they're
so
both
you're going to
great.
see here, this is a game against one of my favorite corners, actually my number 1 corner last year, C.J. Henderson. And this is exactly what I love about Ja'Marr Chase's game. Because C.J. Henderson was doing all right against Ja'Marr Chase, but this is where Ja'Marr Chase beats you. Because, you know, if he's in one-on-one, this whole outside area of the field is such a threat in C.J. Henderson's mind. But Ja'Marr Chase can just do a quick little slant, and look how powerful he is when catching this football. Strong hands. It's like C.J. Henderson doesn't even phase him on this catch. You know, like he obviously not bringing him down, and like that's the thing that in the NFL like will definitely translate in Jamar Chase's game is just how physical he is. Like he doesn't mind guys being around him. He likes to play physical. He almost like dares defensive backs to press him because he loves hand fighting them, and he wins it constantly at the college level.
Yeah, he's figured something out in that where he's just got this whole key where he can just win that battle.
This is unfortunate. I don't think my clip here saved up. But yeah, just lastly, Jamar Chase, I think that I have two slight concerns about him. One is that he does want to play more physical than like a finesse, which it's not even necessarily a knock on Jamar Chase. It's just kind of a knock on receivers before him with a similar play style and skill set. It's that if there have been receivers that not necessarily bust, but weren't as productive as we thought, it is those receivers that just try to physically dominate the defensive back across from them. Because in the NFL, the D-backs are like physically way better. And if they're playing press man, they don't get beat as much over the top. And when there is a 50-50 ball, they're nowhere near as bad as a lot of college D-backs are. The other thing is just kind of in that similar vein is just his release a lot of the time is just kind of, I'm just going to move you. And I think that maybe this is a personal preference. I just kind of tend to like guys that beat defensive backs off of the line with good footwork and quickness and just really well-coordinated releases. And I'm not saying that Jamar Chase's releases aren't good. I'm just saying that I think that he does rely on the fact that he's just physically better than D-backs a little bit too often.
Yeah,
compared to Devonta Smith.
They're not as good as Devonta Smith. Like, you're right. That's something that he's probably going to have to work at in the next level, like you said, because these corners are not going to be are going to be more physical and better than these players he's seen in the collegiate level, and especially he hasn't played in a year, and game action might come a little slow to him at first. But I don't know. So there's something about Jamar Chase. Maybe it was just, him scoring 20 touchdowns in one season just really popped out. But, like, but it's the same with those two. 1A, 1B. You can't go wrong with either one.
Yeah, these two guys are both my favorite receiver prospects to come out since that Julio A.J. Green class. And obviously, this is when I was younger and didn't scout anywhere near as much as I do now, but I definitely liked Julio a lot more than A.J. Green. I was not necessarily high on A.J. Green coming out. But both of these guys, they're unbelievably talented prospects. You can't go wrong with either one. I think that both of these guys should be off the board in the top 10 picks in April. I felt like I had one more thing that I was going to say about Jamar Chase, and it's escaping me right now. All right, well, let's move on then. My number 3 guy is Rondale Moore. Rondale Moore I have absolutely loved for a long time now. Rondale Moore is a freaking beast. So you're going to see him. He's lined up in the slot on the right side of the screen if you're watching on the tube. And he torched Ohio State this game. He is 18 years old, true freshman. And while he was torching them, Ohio State obviously is like, okay, this Rondale Moore kid is pretty good. Let's bracket him, which is basically a double team. You're going to see he's going to get shoved by this guy, and he's going to be playing underneath, and you got a guy over the top, an over-under bracket. And that is not the way that you're going to stop Rondale Moore, apparently, because Rondale Moore is so good. It's almost like this guy in the back wasn't even covering him. I think that's Shaun Wade. When Shaun Wade was a freshman or a sophomore. One of the top high school recruits at corner. And just look at this cut. Dude, like this cut. His hips, Shaun Wade's hips, the D-back, he's screwed. Like, and he just does this constantly. Rondale Moore is insanely quick. And his feet are ridiculous. So he not only that is Rondale Moore's quickness and his footwork really good. Like the way that he the way that he changes his speeds and uses that to his advantage to beat linebackers and defensive backs and safeties is just honestly so cool to watch.
You can throw it in a
he
second
does it
gear
as an
or whatever.
NFL level.
Yeah, you can throw it,
and like,
it's just crazy.
He sets these guys up so easily. So here's a play, they're just gonna hand the ball off to him, and look how he set. So he's going like 3/4 speed here. So then he's gonna start bombing out to the sideline, and then this move just on a dime undercuts him. Like, that is insane. How do you stop this? Oh my god, it is honestly so cool to watch. So, Rondale Moore, things that I love about it: quickness, change of direction, change speed. All, I believe, at a top-tier NFL level. And not only that, like, dude, his routes are so good. So I saw this. It took me a while to find this. I think it's like a minute in here. Some of these routes from, I think it's this one here, from Rondale Moore. And it's like, I don't want to compare him to this player, but this is what it slightly reminds me of. It's when you watch Jerry Rice, you just watch him just stop instantly on a dime. Like, footwork is just so clean, so quick. And I really get that feeling from Rondale Moore on a lot of his routes. Like, dude, it just is textbook. Like, this little curl route here, bang, just right on a dime, easy. Like, dude, that is NFL.
Yeah,
that
you're
just
not gonna
screams
be,
NFL.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to defend that. He is very polished, and being a smaller guy, and he's going to have to excel at like the little things. I think he's really taking advantage of that.
Like, dude, this is perfect. Dude, if I get this on Sundays, and what's crazy to me about Rondale Moore is that every single ball I see thrown to him, he is so quick. They're all late. They're not necessarily very late, but every single time he's ready for the football, and he has to wait for it to get there, right? Maybe that's because he hasn't played with one of these top-tier quarterbacks. I think that's definitely part of it. But even here, that ball's out late. And, like, I think that that's one thing that people don't see in Rondale Moore, is that they don't see how, like, he's just so much faster. Like, not only his speed, but the way he plays than everyone else on the field. And, like, if you go back and watch the Rondale Moore games, just watch his route running and just look at how he is ready for the football and they're always late. That's how much faster he plays. And I think that directly translates to the NFL, because everyone always is saying, oh, well, the NFL, it's way faster of a game. And you kind of saw an example if you watch that Nick Mullins clip from last week. Like, dude, if you're a hair late on these throws,
you miss it.
You're kind of screwed. Rondale Moore, he plays way faster than anyone else on the field every single game. And if that doesn't translate to the NFL, I don't know what does. One other thing, I got this Indiana. Dude, like, this Indiana game, if you want to be sold on Rondale Moore from anything aside from the Ohio State game, dude, he was going off in this Indiana game. And if you're one of the people that thinks that he isn't great vertically down the field, it'll happen sooner or later. Just see, look, even on this, quarterback's late. He's already ready for the football. He's waiting for it. A lot of the time, he kind of gets screwed up because he's beaten the guy so badly that him waiting for the football allows the defender to get back in the play. Yeah, here we go. So if you question his vertical prowess, he doesn't catch this ball. Actually, there's going to be one. No. He catches a couple long balls here. Okay, whatever. They're not coming up. This video is not helping me. Not helping my point. But yeah, that is one of the major knocks on him, is that he's not great vertically down the field. I really advise you to go watch that Indiana video that I just had up, because there were a couple plays where he is a threat vertically down the field. I think the other thing is that offense, that Purdue offense, was not great for him and his buddy Bell, who is another one of the top receivers in college football. I just don't think the scheme, the personnel, the talent of that team really helped
and playing
showcase his skill set. Yeah, I was not a huge fan of the scheme. I think that how do I put this? It's like they used him as like a gadgety kind of player, but I feel like they were almost forced to do that to get the maximum usage out of him rather than use him as an actual receiver, because the talent of their offense couldn't maximize his skill set if he was just a receiver. Which I think will change at the next level. I think when he gets to the next level, you're going to see him transition really well into more of that actual receiver kind of a role, which I think people aren't taking into account, and that's why I have him as my number 3 guy. I think this guy is easily a first-round talent. Honestly, it might be getting to the point where I hope he doesn't go in the first round, just so that I can get him at a better price in my dynasty leagues. Let's go on to number 4, though. Number 4 for me is Dyami Brown. I also think that Dyami Brown is a first-round talent. And I think that Dyami Brown is another guy that's a little bit misunderstood. So, the first thing that I noticed about Dyami Brown, and I'm really pissed off because a bunch of my good clips of Dyami Brown are now gone from that guy's YouTube channel getting deleted, but he's a great deep threat. He is really good vertically down the field, and he is a very good route runner on these deep routes. Look at the separation he creates. Easy money. And I want to go into, on one of these clips, the route running. Yeah, it's here. Here we go. I think it's this play. Nope, it's not this play, but this is him with the ball in his hands. Okay, let's back up. Yeah, so I guess I'll go into that first. Dyami Brown, playmaker on all phases of the field. You can put the ball in his hands short and he can make guys miss. You can throw him deep, and he's good intermediate, which I think is one thing that people discount way too much with Dyami Brown, is that they don't realize how much of a playmaker on all phases of the field he actually is. And I think part of that problem is because the North Carolina offense didn't really have to rely on him necessarily, because their running attack was so good, and Daz Newsome was a great playmaker over the middle, just getting the ball in his hands. And on top of that, Dyami Brown was a really good blocker. So you're almost, for the college game, just put the ball in Daz Newsome's hands and have Dyami Brown block for him. Or put the ball in your really talented running back's hands and have Dyami Brown blocking on the outside, and only use him really as a deep threat when you want to score. So I think that one of the problems is that this offense didn't have to rely on his skill set a ton. Here we go. Here's the example I wanted to show. This is really good route running from Dyami Brown. So, kind of like we said earlier, the standard move, the release 101 for college receivers, is a little shake and then that shoulder dip, that inside shoulder dip to try and get to the outside. I am not a receiver master by any stretch of the imagination, but I know that that is like the #1 release that receivers are taught, because a lot of plays are must outside releases, and that's just the easiest one to learn. Now, Dyami Brown is going to fake this here, right? He's going to fake the shoulder dip. You see how he's lowering his inside shoulder here? For those listening, he is lowering his inside shoulder. Then he's going to get these D-back to slightly turn. And now he's going to slap that arm, this D-back's inside arm, with his inside hand and get right over the top of him. And what he's going to do is he's going to stack him, it's called. Stacking him within 5 yards, which basically means he's putting his body in front of the defender's body. Because now, since this is a vertical route, that defender has to somehow get around Dyami Brown to make a play on the ball. If he doesn't get in front of this guy, and he just, is like, oh, well, I kind of got past him, I'll just let him stay on my side, well, then that defender can get away with a little bit of like a grab, and then get back in on the play and make a play on his hands. If you stack this guy, then you make this defender's job a nightmare to cover you deep. And that's he doesn't just do that, he does that within 5 yards with that really textbook perfect release. But because of the result of the play, people are going to say, oh, Dyami Brown, he's not all that good. And the only reason he doesn't catch this ball, and this is something that Antonio Brown actually taught me, looking at stuff online, look at his head. On these over-the-shoulder catches, you are supposed to have your eyes locked in on the football the entire time. So you see, eyes here are locked in on the football. But let me actually play this in slow motion. No, not quality. Playback speed. Bang. Look at his eyes. Takes his eyes off the football. He's too worried about getting yards after the catch and scoring the touchdown instead of keeping his eyes on the football. You see, he's looking straight ahead. And he just loses the football. It's basically just a focus drop. And now it's looking like that commercial with the chick with the phone. It's just like, she's just fumbling the phone. Yeah, that's basically what this has turned into. And I think a lot of armchair scouts like myself, and I probably used to do this as well, would say, oh, well, that's a terrible play. His hands suck. That's not his hands. That is purely a mental young player mistake that is going to be coached out, at least in my opinion, by any sort of halfway decent coaching staff at the next level.
Yeah, you could easily fix that. Also, just look the way he got off the line and was able to get that open in the first place. You know, you got to take that as a positive.
Yeah, so the clear knock on Dyami Brown from the community and myself a little bit is that he has way too many focus drops and drops in general. But if there's one thing that we've learned about receiver prospects is that these guys can develop that. Mm-hmm. Look at Devontae Adams, his first year in the league. He led the league in drops, and now he's a stud pass catcher. DeAndre Hopkins was a guy that struggled with drops coming out. That was the reason he wasn't drafted higher, was because people thought he couldn't catch a football. Now the guy has the most sure hands in the NFL. I think that if you discount Dyami Brown because you are worried about the drops, I just think that you're, at least in Dynasty League, you're missing out on a good player. I think that he's a first-round talent, personally. And not only that, you look at every other receiver in the draft, they also have hands issues. So I'm not sure how you can say, oh, well, Dyami Brown has hands issues, but then point out Rashod Bateman and say, oh, well, his hands are elite. Dyami Brown, this kid's really good. I don't necessarily know what his pro comp is, but I think that he is easily one of the most underrated players in this draft. Easily the most underrated receiver right now. His price in Dynasty is great. I think he's going in the first round, but if he doesn't, some team's getting a steal on day 2.
Yeah, especially for a guy that hasn't been talked a lot and not getting enough love. You know, could be one of those shocker picks, you know, in the first or second round.
I think he's just... You talk about these people that really want that alpha number 1 X receiver, and I think they're pointing to all the wrong guys. Like, Rashod Bateman, I think, is all right. I have him on my top 10 list, but clearly he's not my top 5. I just think he has too many issues. Terrace Marshall, I don't even have in my top 10, mainly for different reasons.
I'm not a big Terrace Marshall fan.
I didn't like his production on the outside. I think he was more inconsistent than people actually realize. I think he's not a high-effort guy, whereas Dyami Brown, I mean, this dude takes pride. All these North Carolina kids take pride in blocking and are extremely high-effort, high-motor kind of guys. I think Dyami Brown is legit. Number 5, though, Jaylen Waddle. Not really sure a ton needs to be said about Jaylen Waddle. I guess I'm going to have to defend why I don't have him higher. But if you live under a rock, Jaylen Waddle is extremely dangerous. And this is how dangerous he is. So you're going to see Georgia screws up this coverage, and they don't pass him off correctly. You're going to see these 2 defenders here up top on your screen. They're going to get confused. And they both go to Devonta Smith. They both initially start covering Devonta Smith. You see, they're looking at each other like, who do you have? Who do you have?
Yeah.
And if you do that, well, Jaylen Waddle's going to burn you. And he's going to burn you for a touchdown. Because any sort of false step is going to result in a touchdown for Jaylen Waddle. And that is especially true on double moves. This guy is like the double move king. Okay, this is the wrong clip. Man, I really did a poor job of ordering these clips. I'm really sorry about this. Here we go. This is the clip. He's the double move king. Just one step. The safety bites a little bit. Bang. Easy touchdown. It creates like 5.5 yards of separation. You're not catching it.
Golly. And he had to stop too and picked it back up.
Oh, yeah. He like, that's an underthrown football. So, yeah, take a look at this safety here on the right side of the screen. Yep, you're done. See ya. Jaylen Waddle's gone. That's how dangerous he is. And if you look on the clip that I accidentally played once again, this is kind of Jaylen Waddle's game, right? Get him in space, use his quickness, get him open on this, like, basically a whip route, an extended whip route. And everyone wants to pro-comp Jaylen Waddle to Tyreek Hill, and I think that is a bad pro-comp. Jaylen Waddle does not want to play physical. He wants to play fast. I think a better pro-comp for Jaylen Waddle is like a T.Y. Hilton. Because T.Y. Hilton is a very similar type of player. He's a huge threat vertically down the field. He's good with the ball in his hands. And he's the kind of guy that wants to beat you with speed. So, if I'm a Jaylen Waddle fan, I don't want him to try and beat Tyreek Hill. I don't want a team to think he's Tyreek Hill. I want a team to think he's T.Y. Hilton. And really take advantage of his skill set that way. And, you know, just make him a huge threat. If you see him one-on-one, and they're playing back, just hit him with curls all day. And once you see that D-back start biting, then we double move his ass.
Yeah.
So Jaylen Waddle, I initially was lower on him because I didn't like his physicality. I think that he can kind of get bullied a little bit by D-backs, more so than Devonta Smith. But, man, he's just such a problem that you can't... I feel like it's hard to have him outside your top 5 because, my God, this guy is such a problem for defenses. Whether he's a consistent stud fantasy player or not is besides the point, because I think when this guy is on the field, you have to say, well, shit, we have to make sure we got a guy over the top.
Yeah, he's got him. Because he'll take the top off on you real quick. It doesn't matter.
So I think that's the reason why Jaylen Waddle is just so incredibly, like, valuable. And... like, you think about Randy Moss taking the top off of defense. Well, Jaylen Waddle can take the top off of defense. Probably better than a whole lot of other players before him. Yeah. On top of the fact that he's good underneath. He's good with the ball in his hands. So, Jaylen Waddle for me, number 5. I could see why you have him higher. So, I'm going to go through the next bunch of guys, the next 5. I don't have clips on them. But number 6, I have the Ole Miss receiver, Elijah Moore.
Yeah, I've seen him get a lot
honestly,
of hype.
From my number 6 rated receiver all the way to like 14 or 15, these guys I have like very similar grades on. Honestly, one of the reasons why I have Elijah Moore at 6 is just because I think the data analytics is favorable for him. I wasn't hugely impressed by his tape. I think part of that is because the Ole Miss offense was hard to watch. I don't think they did a great job of displaying his skill set on an NFL level. But the guy's good. He's good for the most part in all phases.
Yeah, he did have to go into a new office this year with the Lane Kiffin hire. Might have like not been his kind of suit or whatever. But I've seen people on some people's mocks where they're kind of, you know, they're even I've seen him go in the first round. Elijah Moore is in the back end.
Yeah. So for me, those 5 guys I mentioned, I all have first round grades on. Elijah Moore is the only other player I think I can make an argument that should have a first round grade. I don't think I would take him in the first round if I were a GM, but he'd be pretty close. And if I really needed a receiver, like let's say I'm the Chiefs and I'm like, listen, I am not coming out of this draft without a receiver, and these other 5 guys go, well, I wouldn't necessarily be terribly against picking Elijah Moore there. So Elijah Moore, I think he's a good player. I mean, on top of that, it's just like you look at the route running clips of this guy in practice, and it is just insane. You do see it on tape. He's a kid who plays hard, so he's my number 6 guy. My number 7 guy is Tylan Wallace, and I'm actually a little bit shocked they don't have him higher because this guy kind of killed the pro day and ran much faster than I thought. And that was actually the pro day time that I saw. I'm like, I'm not sure I can believe these because I did not see, like, he ran like a 4.39 or something
that's
on
crazy.
The pro day. And I did not expect that. I was worried this guy was going to run like a 4.6. Like
he just shattered it.
A 4.39. Like
yeah, he
Jesus
just shattered
Christ.
it.
But Tylan Wallace is a guy I have liked for a while. I think that there's definitely an argument that I can have him at my number 6 spot if I were an NFL team. It really depended on what we were trying to do. You talk about Tylan Wallace, you got to talk. He's a 50-50 ball winner. I remember I was watching that Tulsa game, and their starting quarterback went down, and their offense basically just became, it's 3rd and long, we're throwing it up to Tylan Wallace, and it actually kind of worked. Yeah, I think that this guy is just, not only is he good like a 50-50 ball winner, he's got a good head on him. Like, he's good at finding holes in zones. I think he's like, he does a pretty decent job of setting up D-backs. I think the big problem I have with Tylan Wallace is that he kind of sucks against press coverage. Considering that he was being, like, he was getting pressed in the Big 12, and the Big 12 isn't exactly known for being great at pass coverage, so, like, that's kind of concerning. Or defense at all. Yeah, like, man, that really is tough, and for now, like, from a fantasy football perspective, a dynasty perspective, I believe in him. I think if a team gets him after the 2nd round, it'd be a good pick, but I am interested to see where he goes in the draft. My number 8 guy, it's going to come as a little bit of a shock, is Nico Collins out of Michigan. I liked Nico Collins coming into this year. I wasn't necessarily huge on him, but watching him at the Senior Bowl was like, wow, this guy's good. And like, once again, I do want to see where he goes, but, and you know, he has limited tape. He opted out, which is kind of a problem, but man, this guy looks like he's got all the talent to be a stud receiver, so I actually think he's going to go in the 2nd round. And I think there's a decent chance he might go over Rashod Bateman. I don't know. I kind of like you, let's get into my number 9 guy, is Rashod Bateman. I think that Rashod Bateman has just been overhyped.
Yeah, he's been really overhyped.
I think he has way more flaws than people really expect. One thing I will say that I like about Rashod Bateman, he's great in one-on-one coverage scenarios. He's tough to cover. He's got good feet. He's got a good release. But the problem I have with Rashod Bateman is that every single area of his game outside of those 2 strengths is just really inconsistent. He's not a great vertical threat, but he's not bad. He's good with the ball in his hands. I wouldn't say he's great, as some people would say. Like, it's just very... He's good, but he's... Good only gets you so far.
He's good, but it's like, he's not good enough to sell me, you know? Like, there'd be a trust thing with Rashod Bateman, and I'm not risking that.
And you know, the one thing is that everyone is taking Rashod Bateman saying that he's an alpha number 1 receiver. Well, I actually don't think he is. I think he'd be much more suited as a number 2 receiver than a true number 1. You know, everyone's screaming, oh, well, he's Devontae Adams, he's Michael Thomas. Well, yeah, maybe at a ceiling case, but I don't see him breaching that ceiling, to be completely honest. We'll probably get more into that come like the actual draft streams and stuff. I'll get more into that. But Rashod Bateman, not huge on, but once again, like, I respect the fact that he's good, and I still have him on this top 10 list. And my number 10 pick, man, this is a crapshoot between a bunch of guys. I picked Kardarius Toney. Honestly, it might be Tamarion Terry. It could be Amon-Ra. It could be Demetric Felton. Like, all these guys I think are relatively equal all the way up to the 6th spot. You could put any one of these guys there. So, I put Toney there just because I think he's got the highest ceiling out of all these guys.